Good morning, friends. Welcome back to the Say What podcast. My name is Hannah, and on this podcast, we like to talk about things that people don't want to say out loud. We talk about marriage, talk about sex, talk about painful sex. We talk about all girly things. I talk about motherhood here and there. Just a lot of really fun, girly things that people really don't want to talk about out loud. But I will do that for you. I have taken on that role, and I will do that for you. I hope you all are having a wonderful Wednesday morning. I hope if you are sitting at home watching this on YouTube, you are just feeling like you have someone accompanying you here who's just making your day a little bit brighter. That is my hope. That is my goal, because I understand that being, at home all day, if that's what you do for work from home, it is so nice to be able to watch videos on YouTube while you're working. Like, that is the only way that I have stayed sane working from home. And when my son is asleep, I'm literally like, okay, what YouTube person can I watch today to help me not just like feel lonely? Like when I was pregnant and I was working from home and my husband wasn't home, I pretty much just like watched people on YouTube all day because I just needed some other people around me to feel some kind of like human interaction, even if we weren't actually interacting, because you don't want to go to like a coffee shop every day because that can get expensive. So this was really fun. So if you haven't checked me out on YouTube, please go ahead. I have other videos that I've been uploading on YouTube as well that aren't just podcasts. So that's fun. Some get ready with me's. Let me tell you, I'm so far from a like get ready with me kind of person. Like I'm doing those videos, but I am not a makeup artist or a hairstylist by any means. So if you're looking for someone who just is like normal and doesn't like know all the cool techniques, like that's me. Like, and I'm sure you could tell me 15 things I could be doing better to my makeup. But, I'm just like, I like to be doing something while we're chatting. So that's an easy thing to do while we're chatting. So anyways, hope you guys can enjoy this wonderful day. Hope this podcast is making your day a little bit brighter. I wanted to start off today's podcast by telling you guys a terrible story. Telling you a terrible story that happened to me this past week. So my grandmother, who is just the sweetest lady, was not doing well. And so I decided very much last minute, like Saturday night, I was told that she wasn't doing well. And then Sunday morning, me and Tate were just driving to Aiken. So we went to Aiken, South Carolina, where my family lives. We went there for a week, basically. So me and Tate were there for a week, and we went to see my grandma, and I was basically there to help my mom, help my grandma, because that's just like what I'm trying to do here. I'm trying to be a helpful daughter, and I'm going to help my mom with my grandma. So we go see Mamaw every like lunchtime and dinner time to make sure that she's eating. Her dementia's just gotten really rough, and there's some other health stuff going on. So we go to help make sure that she's getting fed. And I decide to go by myself, which is nerve-wracking because, if you have any experience with patients with dementia, it's rough. Like, there's times where they're yelling at you, cussing at you, like definitely not being their normal person. If my grandma looked back or was looking at how she was acting towards me, she would lose her mind. Like, my grandma is so sweet, the sweetest lady in the entire world, and she's been a Christian her whole life, and the things that she was telling me when I was there taking care of her were just wild. But the times that I've been there with my mom, I've seen a little bit of how it'd been bad, but I was like, you know what, Mom, you stay with Tate. I'm going to go. I can do this by myself. Like, I know that she's not who she is, so if she says things to me that are not that are hurtful or mean, I just understand it's not her, so it's fine. But nothing could have prepared me for what happened when I went to this nursing home. Actually, she's not a nursing home, it's an assisted living facility. Nothing could have prepared me. So I just, drive myself over to the assisted living facility. I'm like, hey, Mamaw, and she is unhinged. She is in a whole other world this day. This happened to be a really bad day for her. She doesn't always have bad days, but this particular one was a bad day. She kept telling me how full of shit I am. She kept asking where my mom was, and I kept saying like, oh, she's babysitting. She's with your great-grandson. And she'd be like, oh, big deal, big deal. She's mocking other people that are in the facility. It's just a whole other world for her. I'm like, this is not who you are. Like, if this is you in a different life, like, I know this is not you. And so I'm just kind of like, it's fine. Mamaw, I love you. I'm going to keep feeding you. Like, I kept trying to feed her. And she would like, get your hand out of my face. And it was really sad. And the only reason I'm kind of lighthearted about it right now, because this really isn't who she is. And you have to have that kind of attitude when you're working with the elderly, especially elderly who have mental problems like dementia or Alzheimer's. And so I'm like, okay, I know this is not I know she doesn't feel this way about me. It's fine. It's not a big deal. And when she's being mean to other people, I'm like, Mamaw, you can't be mean to other people. You have to be nice. The sweet thing was I kept telling her like, I love you, Mamaw. And she'd be all mad. Then she'd go, I love you too. So that was sweet. But So I'm setting the stage. I'm at this nursing home. There's a lot of we're in the memory care unit at this assisted living facility. And I decide to stay and hang out with her for a little bit longer. At first, she kept telling me like, go away, go away, go away. I don't want you here. And so I was like, okay, Mama, after I finish feeding you, I'll go home. So I finished feeding her and I'm like, okay, Mama, are you ready for me to go home? Or do you want to go in the living room area and sit there for a while and we can just hang out and watch the Olympics? And she was like, we can go to the living room. That would be fine. And so I'm like, okay. So I wheel her into the living room area and this like sitting room. There's this big, really old red leather couch. Okay. It's really big. It's leather. It's old. And if you know anything about leather couches, they're really cold when you sit on them, if it's like cold outside or cold in the environment. So it was like pretty cold. And it's a really old couch. It's stained everywhere. I'm just like, okay, like whatever. It is what it is. Like, I know this place like has so many germs. I'm just going to shower when I get home. Not a big deal. So I go into this place. I sit down on the couch. And I'm just like sitting, I'm like, Mama, look, it's the Olympics. Like, I don't even remember what we were watching. I can't remember. I was like, look what's happening in the Olympics. So this is this country and this country. And we're just like chatting it up. And then there's this nurse who has been there. And I know this job is really hard. So I just like commend all the nurses who are doing that. She knew that I had been there for a while because like it's not a very large place. It's like pretty small. And it's like all of a sudden it clicked in her brain. And she turned around and she looked at me and she goes, oh my gosh, you're sitting in poop and pee. I said, excuse me? I'm sitting in poop and pee? And I stood up and she's like, do you not feel it? And I stood up and I was like, oh, yep, I definitely feel it now. I just thought the couch was cold. And I just thought that what I was sitting on was like cold and old. Like I didn't recognize that that was poop and pee. And I thought that was a stain. I did not think that was active poop and pee on this couch. I thought that was a stain. I couldn't believe it. I stood up and I was just like, oh my gosh. And for her to say, like, oh, you couldn't feel that you were sitting on something? Number one, why didn't you clean it up? It's such a health violation to have feces on a couch where anyone can sit down. Like, I could not believe what had happened to me. I was just like, I'm never gonna like recover from this. I'm gonna have to go shower 14 times. Like, I am just never gonna recover. And this is just the end of my life. Like, which is so dramatic. I didn't actually feel like this was the end of my life. I was just like, I'll never recover. I'll never recover. I'm still thinking about it. I'm still experiencing it. I got home and immediately stripped, and my mom immediately put those clothes in the wash, and I took a shower. And I was like, I am going to wash my head to toe. I'm going to take every body scrub I have and scrub. Like, I was scrubbing my body. I was like, I've got to get all this off of me. Thankfully, there wasn't so much poop and pee that it stained my clothes, but it definitely was wet. I immediately asked the nurse if she had a towel that she could give me so I could sit on the towel and not have to sit in the poop and pee in my car on the way home. And my sweet dad, as soon as he got home, he was like, it was in the front seat, right? Like the seat you drove in. I was like, yeah, I mean, I had a towel. He's like, I'm going to go clean your car. So he went and cleaned my car, which was so nice. My mom, of course, kept tape so I could shower and, really make sure I got clean. She immediately put my clothes in. And I just was like, this has got to be like a joke. I don't understand how these like few things keep happening to me. So first I'm like covered in pee and poop, right? Then I come home, like come back to Durham, and I am so tired on like whatever day I came back. And this is a couple of days after the pee and poop. And I asked my son if he wants some cereal, and he wants to eat it sitting on the nugget couch. And I'm like, you know what? I don't have the energy to fight this today. Like, we're just going to eat it on the nugget couch, and I'm going to feed it to him. So what's the problem? There was a problem, and I didn't know there was going to be a problem, and there was a problem. He decides to jump and kick the bowl of cereal in my hands directly, like splashes the milk and cereal into my face. I was covered head to toe with milk. I mean, there was milk dripping down my butt. Like, I immediately got up. Actually, I didn't immediately get up because I was just shocked. I literally was like, oh my gosh, I'm covered in milk. I mean, because he kicked me like right close to my face. So it just splashed all over me. I was covered in milk. I was like trying to wipe the milk out of my eyes. And then I get up and I immediately strip, and I like feel the milk running down my butt. And I was like, this is what it's like to be the parent of a 19-month-old. And I'm not complaining about that because I love him more than life itself, and he's perfect. And that is just developmentally normal for him to do things like that. And I like it was fine. I mean, it was fine. It was just like, I could not believe that happened to me. And then yesterday, I'm opening my pimento cheese, which I love pimento cheese. I like tear apart the plastic part of the pimento cheese. Pimento cheese splashes all over my face. All over my face, in my hair, on my shirt, in the couch. I'm like, you guys, what is happening to me? Why am I unwell? Like, why do I keep being covered in things that I shouldn't be covered with? Like, what is happening? Send help, please. Apparently I need it. So anyways, that's how I'm doing. Doing great. Actually, I really am doing great. I just like to over dramatize things. And I will say, what is really giving me so much life today is the people on the internet who comment, like, who see something that someone posts about, but they didn't have that experience. And so they comment and they're like, this never happened to me. I don't know what crazy world you lived in. This was not my experience, because they think that if they didn't experience it, no one else experienced it. That's really fun. That's really fun. Anyways, I also want to talk about IUDs. So this week, the New York Times posted about how health officials are urging doctors to address IUD insertion pain. So I just want to read this quick little blurb from the New York Times. It says, for years, women have described the process of getting an intrauterine device, or IUD, as the worst pain imaginable, or likened to a hot knife slowly stabbing them. Now, federal health officials have recommended on Tuesday that physicians counsel women about pain management and consider various anesthetics before the procedure. The recommendation comes after videos describing the procedure have spread on social media. Less than 5% of doctors offered an injection of a local anesthetic during insertion of an IUD, many instead prescribing over-the-counter painkillers, which have been shown to be less effective. This is a quote. Quote, women's pain and women's experiences have been downplayed throughout medicine, Dr. Gray said. This is really validating that for some people, this can be a really painful experience. So a couple people sent that to me and I was like, yes, this is finally happening, that women's pain is being taken seriously. So many times throughout our history, women's pain has not been taken seriously, especially for women of color. I know that there's research out there that shows that the rate of death among women from childbirth or just in general is higher in women of color. And a lot of that is because they're not taken seriously. They think that because they're a person of color, that their skin is makes it to where they don't experience pain as much. It's actually insane. And that's extremely racist, which is so not okay on so many levels. But it's just women's pain is never taken seriously. It's never taken seriously. And I just am so thankful that people are finally doing something about it. So my experience with IUD is that before or whenever I got engaged, I wanted an IUD because I just didn't want to have to think about birth control. At that time in my life, I did not trust myself to do the family planning method or even take a pill at the same time every day. I just really was unwell at that time, which I was getting married. So the marriage part was good, but everything else in my life was kind of falling apart and I was moving. There was a lot of things going on. If you've been around the podcast, you know, but I was just unwell for a really long time. And so I was like, I need something that I don't have to think about. So I wanted the IUD and I went to my doctor, talked to them. I was like, I really want the IUD. I do remember them saying we do recommend you get this after you have a baby, not before. And I was like, oh, it's fine. I'll be okay. And they were like, okay, just take some Tylenol before you come. No big deal. I was like, awesome. So I go try to get the IUD and it was the literal worst pain of my life. It was so bad. I would probably say that the pain of an IUD was probably equal to my leg break. And I'm not being dramatic. The pain of the IUD was equal to the 3 bones in my leg breaking. And that is crazy. Crazy, crazy, crazy. So women have been talking about this hurting them forever and they just don't do anything about it. They're like, oh, just take some Tylenol. So I take the Tylenol, they try to insert it. It doesn't work. It's so painful. It literally is not going in correctly. And I'm just like, this is not okay. But I really want this IUD, so we'll try again. So my doctor was like, okay, next time I want you to come when you're on your period and I want you to take this cervix softening medicine to help soften your cervix so that way we can get the IUD in easier. So I go again and I'm on my period. I take the medicine. And it is, again, so painful. I mean, it was so bad. My mom was there with me because I didn't trust myself to go by myself the second time because of how painful it was. Because I didn't think I could drive home if I was in so much pain. I was not okay. I was in so much pain. It didn't work. She was like, okay, let's go to another room and we're going to try it with an ultrasound to see, so I can see like where I'm inserting and where I'm going. So that way it doesn't hurt. And I was like, or that way we can actually get it in. And I said, okay. So she tries to insert it. And again, it's not working. And she's like, it's not working because you have a tilted cervix. So because the way that my cervix was shaped, she could not get the IUD in. And I'm like, if you would have just used an ultrasound the first time, I would not have had to do that. I would not have to go through this pain if you would have just used an ultrasound the first time. When I found out she can use an ultrasound so she can like make sure she puts it in the right spot, I was like, why did you not do that to begin with? So annoying. So I'm so glad this is finally happening, because there needs to be some kind of medicine given when it comes to IUDs, like truly. I really think that women's pain needs to be taken seriously. And this is also, like the article said, really validating for those who did experience pain. I also wanted to read I went to pull up Instagram and got distracted by Taylor Swift. Fantastic. I'm so heartbroken of the terrorist attack that almost happened. So thankful that it didn't actually happen, because, wow. Thank the Lord for the intelligence that intercepted all of that. Incredible. So I asked you guys about your experience with IUD, and oh man, it was almost every response said how painful it was. So I'm not going to read those because they were all basically this. Some people said it didn't hurt, but most people said it hurt. And then I asked if you had a painful IUD insertion experience, or did you have vaginismus or experience pain when having sex? And 33% said, yes, the IUD insertion hurt and I have vaginismus. The 67% said, no, the IUD insertion hurt, but I didn't have painful sex. I also think that's interesting that people who did have a painful IUD did have painful sex, but then like the majority of them did not have painful sex. So I do think that's good to know, because I think it can be so traumatizing to those who get an IUD and it's the most painful experience of their life. They're like, does this mean sex is going to hurt? And then it just sends them down a spiral that they're going to experience painful sex. So I do think it was positive that just from my little poll on Instagram, the majority of people did not have painful sex, even though they had an IUD. But I just think it's so good that they are now going to be offering, hopefully, this thing said they're encouraging doctors to offer local anesthetic while you're getting an IUD. But I will say, also in that question box that I put up, so many women said that the IUD, even after they inserted it, was the most painful thing. They hated it. They hated how they felt, and they couldn't wait to get it out. So take that, with what it is. I know that there are so many women who love their IUD, so many women who hate their IUD. Birth control truly, truly does vary so much person to person. So it's hard, I feel like, to say a one-size-fits-all situation. But I really am glad that someone is finally taking women's health seriously. It's truly time. It was time years ago, but I'm glad that it's finally happening now. Real quick, before I talk about the main topic for today, I do want to say, since I mentioned Taylor Swift a second ago, I have now officially decided that the Tortured Poets Department, just the Tortured Poets Department, not the anthology, the Tortured Poets Department is my favorite album. It is, it's so good start to finish. There is not one single skip song on that album, just the Tortured Poets Department. The anthology, I'm going to be honest, some of those songs I skip. I don't love them, but there are songs on that I'm obsessed with. But just the Tortured Poets Department itself is so good. I think I've officially decided that the order goes: the Tortured Poets Department, Reputation, Lover, Midnights, Folklore, Red. Speak Now is my last one. I'd probably say Evermore after Red. And then probably Debut. No, I think Debut and then Speak Now. Oh, 1989. I know I was forgetting one. 1989 is probably after Red. Yeah, 1989 is after Red. But anyway, there's your little Taylor Swift update that I know that all of you are dying for. Okay, let's get into today's topic, which is working from home while not having any childcare and just being a working mom. I've wanted to talk about this for a long time now, but I've been hesitant because it's not like a positive podcast. It's not like, I really don't have a lot figured out. I have a lot of guilt about it, and it's not fun sitting on a podcast sharing all the things that you feel guilty about. That's really not fun. But I feel like I have been looking all over for people to talk about this and be honest about it. And so here I am talking about it and being honest. We knew when I got pregnant that the job that I have is flexible. I can work whenever I want, how much little I want. Like, I make my hours. I'm a contract worker, which means I don't get any paid time off. I only get paid for what I work. And I don't get any maternity leave, but I am so thankful for my job. I can't say that enough. The kind of job I have, I believe, has made it possible for me to work from home and take care of Tate. My boss is also super relaxed when it comes to kids being there while you work. He has a child that's a little bit older than Tate, so he understands. Everybody on my team is really, really understanding. They're just very good people who are excited about kids being in the picture and stuff. And so it really isn't like a super strict corporate work environment. That's not the kind of environment I'm in, because I am a contract worker. So I'm technically self-employed. So I really do believe I have it set up great to be able to work from home with my child and watch him, but that doesn't make it any less hard. We knew whenever I was pregnant that I was going to be the main caretaker for our child. Thomas does work in a job where he is able to work from home and work at the office, especially since moving to North Carolina. His work is half in the office and half at home, which is really nice. And if anything does come up, he can Zoom into all of his meetings, or he can just take an afternoon off and just rework those hours. So he really does have a flexible job. If things come up, they're really understanding and they make it work, which I'm super thankful for. I mean, that's one of the benefits of working at a church, because he works so many hours all the time. There's a lot of flexibility that comes with it, which is really nice. So I do understand that I am not working full-time sole caretaker of my child. I work 25 hours a week and I have help on Mondays and Wednesdays, but Thomas is also working on Mondays and Wednesdays. So we don't have a nanny. We don't have any kind of caretaker. It's just me and Thomas, but Thomas does help out a lot when he's home on Mondays and Wednesdays, but he also is working on Monday and Wednesday. So it's not like I am just letting him do everything. We have to do it together. So that's our experience. And then he's off on Fridays, which is really helpful. So I pretty much only am by myself on Tuesdays and Thursdays, but that was not the case when we first got pregnant, or whenever we first had Tate. He was working a lot in office, wasn't home a lot, because that was just the season that we were in. But where we're at now is I pretty much only work by myself with him all day Tuesday and all day Thursday. But then I do have help Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. But that doesn't mean that just because I have help on Monday and Wednesday, and then Friday, Thomas takes Tate, does everything because that's his day off and they do their thing together. But that doesn't mean that I'm just when I have help, I get to fully focus on my work and fully focus on the podcast and not have to worry about anything else. That's not how that goes, because my child is obsessed with me and wants to be with me all the time. And I don't go up into my room and work, because I'm still the sole caretaker. So Thomas tends to have other meetings on Monday. He still has other meetings on Wednesdays. He has other things that he does on Wednesdays. So I really am the full caretaker for him, but I do have a little bit of help. So I'm going to make that so clear that I do have help. And I know that there are women who work full-time, 40 hours a week, and they're the sole caretaker of their child. And props to you for doing that. I don't know how you do it. And we also, at the place that Thomas works, they have a child at work policy, which means that they can take their kids to work with them, which is the best experience that we could ever ask for. I mean, just being able to take Tate to work has been so helpful for our family. If I have a appointment that I need to go to, or need to do something, Thomas can take Tate with him to work. Now, there are things that Thomas does at his job that he can't take Tate to, just because Thomas has to do some lights in the sanctuary and he has to climb up on top of the ceiling, and obviously Tate can't be there for that. So his job in particular is not Tate can come with him all the time. But it is so great that they have an environment where they want kids to be there. They also have a lot of the homeschool co-ops meet there. So there's just kids always running around our church, which is just so beautiful. I feel like I'm going to cry. I can already feel it that I'm going to cry, because I'm just really grateful for our church. So that's our work environment, just to paint a picture for you. I work on my computer and I work on my phone, because I do social media for a marketing company, and I do other things, but social media is the main thing. So that's the picture. And there have been so many times that I have texted Thomas during the day, called Thomas during the day, and been like, I am drowning. I can't do this. I am not okay. I can't do this, especially when Tate was not sleeping from month 7 to 16 and I had zero sleep and I was just like unwell. Like pretty much the Zoloft like kept me alive during that time and also kept me employed during that time because I was just like, I can't think straight. And Tate's newest thing that he's doing lately is coming up to me and closing my computer and saying, shut, 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 shut. He'll walk up to me, close my computer, pick it up and put it on the table and say, Mommy, play. Ugh. And if that doesn't make you feel like the worst mom in the world, like, whew. Okay. I'm going to cry. I'm going to try not to cry my eyes out through this whole episode. And I don't say that for like sympathy. I'm just telling you the reality of my situation. So that's been really hard lately. I will say it has been really hard since I went back to work when Tate was 3 months old. And it was really, really hard. It's been really hard. It's probably the hardest thing I've ever done. There have been so many times I've looked into getting childcare. I'm like, we're looking at our finances. I'm like, okay, well, if I can work more hours because I have childcare for Tate, but then working more hours is just paying for that, time. And so it's like taking home less money, and not every month I don't work the same amount of hours every month because trying to get my hours is the hardest thing. And they're like, okay, well, Hannah, are you just waking up earlier? When your child isn't sleeping and your child also currently doesn't go to bed till 9 or 10, like I'm not going to bed until 11 or 12 at night. And it's not because I just like want to hang out and stay up late. Part of it is like I would like to have some time to myself, but like putting him to bed or even Thomas putting him to bed at night, and I have to stay down with our dog because he's going to bark. And if he doesn't bark, then like it's just a whole thing. Okay. It's just a whole thing. And I'm trying really hard for this not to sound like I'm complaining this episode, because that's not it, but I'm just telling you the reality of our situation. And so I'm going to bed super late, which means waking up early and trying to be a person and like have ideas about social media at 6 a.m. is impossible. And I'm also not somebody who can work late at night. So for a long time, what it was is whenever Tate would go down at night or Thomas would go lay him down, that's when I would work and get my hours in. And my brain does not function at 9 p.m. Like I'm sitting there on my computer trying to just like type away, make my little social media posts. There's nothing in my brain. Like truly nothing in my brain at 9 p.m. So trying to work at 9 p.m. is like, this is not happening. So it's been really hard. It's been really hard. When he was a baby and we were nursing constantly, I would literally like sit in a chair and I would have my boppy on. He'd be laying across me and I'd have my computer set up on the side while I was holding him nursing. And that's just like the reality of being a working parent. I also would, thankfully with how my job is, there'd be some days where it's like, he's not letting me work. We're just going to leave the house. I will find the hours later. And so that's because I had that luxury, that's what a lot of my days would look like. Or I would try to squeeze like 7 or 8 hours into the days that Thomas are home. So that way the other days when he's not home, I can feel less stressed about it. But it looks like waking up while he's eating breakfast, I'm already clocked in working. It looks like I'm trying to do all the work I have to do during his 2-hour nap time. But he didn't start getting consistent with his naps until, I don't know, maybe like a year old, maybe even after that. Like he just wasn't he's not a consistent scheduled kid. It's not really his vibe, not his life. We currently have 9 or 10 p.m. bedtimes that we're really trying to work on. So the schedule's not really his vibe. And I'm not going to force it on him. We're just going to make it work. So I would try to work, whatever nap time he's having, I would work really hard to do that. So that was a lot of my just experience. Purple Monkey, which is like this Fisher-Price toy, saved me a lot at the beginning because he would just lay on that toy for hours, entertain him. All of my pregnant friends, I have bought them a Purple Monkey, like the ones that work from home, because that like saved us. Like I have bought that little Purple Monkey for my friends because they need it, and that has what really has like saved me from working from home when he was younger. The other thing that has saved me while working from home has been finding other friends with kids who are also working from home. So my best friend and I, she works at the church that Thomas works at, and She has a hybrid schedule as well. So she only goes into the office 2 days a week. And so the other 2 days, a lot of times we're together. And that has made it significantly easier to be able to work from home with somebody else, because the babies like entertain each other. Even if they're younger and they aren't really like, able to do anything because they're a baby, just being in each other's presence makes like Tate not need me as much, and I can focus more. And I get so much more work done when I'm working with other people who have kids. And I'm like, how can we just create like work environments where kids can play and moms can work or parents can work? Like that sounds ideal. That's what we really need in this world, because it's really hard. So I found that has been a big help, being able to like work from home and watch my child. There's so many times where I'd have meetings and I'd just like call my friend, and before she had a baby, I mean, even now I would call her, but if I have a like really important meeting that I don't want Tate to be there for, just so we have like a new client or something, I would just have to ask for help. And I would just ask my friends for help. And asking for help is really hard, but there was a lot of times where I was like, hey, can you come over and watch Tate so I can do this meeting? Can you come over and watch Tate so I can do this meeting? So like I just asked for help, and whenever my friends offered the help, I took it. Like I took it. If they said, hey, can I come hang out with Tate so you can work? I would say, yes, you 1,000% can. Please come help me. So accepting the help was really important. Asking for help is really important. Purple Monkey was really important. Figuring out a schedule with nap times in the crib, really important. But let me tell you, there's nothing like the nap time crisis. So I would have so many crises about this. I would lay Tate down and he'd finally be asleep. And I'm like, okay, I have 2 hours. How should I spend my 2 hours? And I would sometimes just feel so debilitated during those 2 hours, because I wouldn't know what work project I needed to work on. So that would be really stressful. Or I wouldn't know if that was a time where I should work on my podcast or try to get a post up, or if I should eat lunch for myself, or if I should do the dishes for a second. Like I would feel really debilitated. And the Zohoft helped with that as well, the decision fatigue, but also just like doing things and checking them off my list. Like even if it wasn't everything, was helpful for me during those nap times. But that's kind of like the reality of being a working from home mom. That is what it looked like. But I say all of that and like describe my experience for the last 19 months of doing this, and say that it is still what I would choose every time. So I'm sitting here talking about how hard it is, how so many times I've called my husband and been like, I can't do this anymore. I hate this. I'm drowning. I don't know what we can do. We have to change this. We have to fix this. There's so many times that I have texted in that, and I have the best like work experience I could ask for. Like there's nothing about my job that could be better or easier or whatever that would make this easier. It's just so hard when I had a child who was attached to my boob for 16 months, who always wanted me at all times. And I love that. I'm not complaining about that. I love that. And now I have a baby or a toddler who can speak and will close my computer and say, shut, mommy, play. And it breaks you. It breaks you in two. The other day, he went and grabbed my work phone and set it up like you would set up a video to be made, and was acting like he was recording videos. And I was like, oh my gosh, I've never felt more humbled in my life. Like, that's my job. And but I wouldn't change it. I truly wouldn't change it. Like, I want to be home with him more than anything. I do think I would appreciate some help, but I would not have sent him to daycare. Getting a nanny for like an afternoon probably would have been really helpful in hindsight, trying to figure that out. But I just, it's hard. And so I say all this to say, if you're able to afford it, having somebody like come to your house and watch your kid, or have a little bit of a nanny, I do think would probably be the move if you're trying to work from home. But I'm just so grateful for all the time that I've had with my child. Like, I can never get that time back, and getting to watch him learn new things throughout the day while I'm working has just been so helpful, and just getting to spend all that time with him, I wouldn't change it for anything. My mom did this. So for all three kids, she was a work from home mom, and she's like, you just got to do what you got to do. She's like, sometimes I would be in the bathroom and I would tell you, unless there's blood, don't come get me. And she'd say, and you'd walk over here when you're 7 or 8 and you'd knock on the door looking petrified. I'm on a work call. You'd walk in and you knock, knock, knock. And you'd say, Mommy, Connor and Kristen are fighting. They're fighting and I don't know what to do. My mom would just be like, I told you not to come talk to me unless there's blood. But she's like, that's what I had to do. I had to lock myself in the bathroom to work. And I'm like, okay, I'm figuring it out. I'm figuring it out. And it's really hard, I will say. And you guys are going to come for me for this, but I don't care. He does watch a lot of screen time. We do not have a tablet. I don't plan on getting him a tablet. I don't want him to have a tablet. He's not a tablet kid, but we are a TV family. So the TV is on throughout the day. And I try to be really mindful of how much TV he's watching, but he's watching Chosen Kids, which is a Christian Miss Rachel, basically. We used to show him Miss Rachel. We still show him Miss Rachel. But I was looking for some Christian stuff for him to watch throughout the day. And so he's watching Christian Miss Rachel, basically, which is really awesome. We love Chosen Kids. He's watching the super simple songs where they just like sing songs and tell you how to put your shoes on. We're watching Mickey Mouse and we're watching Thomas the Train. That's pretty much what we're watching, which, note to the parents, there is on YouTube Thomas the Train Possessed or Thomas the Train Demonic. So have caution when you're just scrolling Thomas the Train videos that you might come across a demonic video. We've reported all of them. Thomas went in and took the time and reported every single video because that's insane. But, so the TV has helped raise our child, but every doctor's appointment we've gone to, we've gotten raving reviews from the doctor. He is speaking 3-word sentences, which is a 2-year-old milestone. He's not 2. He is talking constantly. He knows how to count to 15, which I know sounds crazy, but he does. Like, he will tell you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Like, he knows how to count. He can count backwards. He can count forwards. He's starting to learn his colors. He is sweet and snuggly and cute and definitely will throw a tantrum if I turn the TV off, but then 5 minutes later he's over it. So we are a big TV family because that's how I work from home. That is truly how I work from home, is the TV is on. And I hate it. And I would wish more than anything that he wasn't also being raised by a TV, but it is what it is at this point. We don't give him a phone to look at. We don't give him a tablet when we're out in public. He's just getting TV when we're working. So when we're not and it's not like the TV's on for 8 hours either. Like I'm definitely cutting it off for time. So it's not just on all day, but there's a lot of times where it's on. But whenever we're home with him after work, like the TV's off and we're hanging out, we're playing, we're eating dinner. Like, TV's not on for mealtime, at dinner time. So we are really like doing our best TV's not on for breakfast. It is sometimes on for lunch because I'm usually working while he's eating lunch. But the TV's on, and I'm just going to be honest with you. Like, anytime I see someone post in a Facebook group like, "Moms, how do you work from home and watch your baby?" I'm like, the TV. And I'm really sad about that, but I don't have another choice at this point. We are trying to pay off our medical bills that I have from the tens of thousands of dollars with my leg. We are, hopefully going to buy a house one day. So we're trying to save for that. So there's just things that our money needs to be going to right now. And I feel like I'm at a point where I can manage Tate. It gets harder and harder with him, like saying, "Mommy, play, shut computer." But I do think he's understanding more and more like this is mommy's job, that she's not just choosing to be on her phone or on her computer for fun. Like, this is her job. So I'm hoping that he'll understand that the more that he gets older. I don't know. But we'll see. He also is, fingers crossed, going to start preschool in the January. So our church has a preschool starting when you're 2, and he's been on the wait list since we moved there. I literally was like, put him on where he's going to go. So I think he's going to go 2 days a week and probably go maybe the 2 days a week that Thomas is at work, he'll go, because he'll just like take him to work and then he'll take him home or I'll come pick him up. So we are going to hopefully start that, which I think is going to be a really big adjustment for Tate and a really big adjustment for me, but I think it'll be good. I trust our church. Thomas is right there. I know the people who are working there. He's got friends that go there. So like, I'm feeling really good about the preschool. The price is so affordable. Truly, praise God. So it's going to work out. Fingers crossed that he gets, able to go in January if a spot opens up. But if not, as soon as he's able to go, he's going to go to class. And that's going to be a game changer for me. I think for my mental health, for being able to work, for like what I'm producing at work, I think will be better than what it is now whenever Tate is in preschool. So we've got, I feel like, a lot coming up to make this a better experience. Like, we're on the up and up. As he gets older, I will say it has gotten easier because he can entertain himself more. He would get really frustrated when he was a baby, just kind of like laying there. And then before he could crawl, he was real fussy all the time because he couldn't get to where he wanted to get. And then once he started to crawl, he felt better and was happier and wasn't so moody. And that made it easier for me to work. And then once he could walk, that made it a little bit easier too. So as he's gotten older, I will say it's gotten easier and easier because I'm not breastfeeding as much. So I can give him snacks and food, and that entertains him, and he can play by himself pretty well. So, it gets easier as he's gotten older. But I will say it has been really difficult. And if you were coming to this podcast thinking like, oh, I'm sure she's got it figured out and she's going to solve all my problems, like, that's not me. Let me know if you have any other tricks for this, and that would be really helpful because I will take them. But my biggest advice to you if you're working from home is to find a friend that you can work with, come to their house or them come to your house, and that y'all can just be in the same environment, because your kids will entertain each other, and it's so great and it's so helpful. And also just I wish I had more advice for the mom guilt, because I've really had to just compartmentalize that. When Tate said shut mommy, play mommy, it obviously broke my heart, but I'm about to cry. What I'm telling myself is that I am working to provide him with a really good future. I am working because we have to for this family, but also because I love what I do. Getting to work and do this podcast is my favorite thing in the entire world. I know that the work that I'm doing in my job is making an impact on the world. I've seen it. The work that I do matters, and that's important to me. And it's important for Tate to see his mom working and doing things that she loves and making a difference in this world. And so, I'm just telling myself, these are really hard years, but it's not going to last forever. It won't be this way forever. Things will change. They will get better. And that's what I'm sitting in, and that's what I'm telling myself anytime the guilt gets really loud. So there's my spiel about working from home and taking care of your child. I hope that if you weren't encouraged, you at least felt some solidarity, that you're not alone, that we're in this together. But, if you have any other tips, send them my way. I don't really ask for tips a ton with parenting because that's just a part that I keep a little more personal. But if you have some tips, let me know. And again, I'm so grateful for the job that I have, that I'm able to do this. Okay, friends, that's all I got for you today. I love you so much. We will talk soon.